All right, this is piggybacking off the reel that I made this morning. So, a lot of athletes that I talk to struggle with these 6 issues. The first one is dialing in the basics. For players who are good enough, as you get better, you stop focusing on the basics or the fundamentals and you look for more complex things to do. So Michael Jordan said, get the fundamentals down and everything will rise. The basics or fundamentals are what elevate your game. They're when you can do the basics flawlessly and without thinking, that's when the game's going to open up. So a little story. In 1961, the Green Bay Packers had lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL Championship the year before. So during the 1961 training camp, Coach Vince Lombardi gathered the team around. He was holding a football when he started training camp. And he started training camp with a quote, "Gentlemen, this is a football." So what he did was break down everything back to the basics. So they focused on the very basics for all the training camp. And 6 months later, guess what? They ended up winning the NFL championship, beating the New York Giants 37-0. And Vince Lombardi went on to never lose a game in the playoffs again. So the moral of that story is that if you want to be successful, you need to dial in the basics and be able to execute them flawlessly. Whether that's a squat, a med ball toss, running a route, or making a tackle. It's too easy to get caught up trying to overcomplicate things. I highly suggest you keep the KISS principle in mind. I use it all the time. It's keep it simple, stupid. Okay? The second one is being intentful with training. So this is probably the biggest issue I see with athletes. If you want to progress your game to the next level, you need to be mindful, you need to be present, and you need to be intentful with your training. So too many athletes are at practice or in the gym or doing training, and they're just going through the motions. There's going to be a lack of transference onto the field with that. That means you're wasting more time if you're just going through the motions. By being intentful, we're more focused, which means you're going to learn skills quicker and you're going to be able to use them better in game situations. So instead of just walking through the plays, actually performing is what's going to get you there. Okay? By having focus through that training and practicing, you're going to be able to get to a much higher level than by just going through the motions. The third issue I see is staying hungry through the whole off season. This is a tough one because the off season can be a long grind. You need to have something you're working towards. There needs to be a sense of urgency with every session. So what I like to use is a countdown somewhere in the gym. So when I'm training, I see that number going down and it motivates me to stay hungry. It motivates me to keep progressing. I use it for all my athletes as well. So they all have a countdown that helps with that competitive nature. It helps keep them motivated and they can see every day that it's getting close to the season or to tryouts. The key to staying hungry is having a goal that you are constantly working towards. So in the off season, you can set little goals that you're trying to check off to keep pushing yourself. Whether that's a number to hit in the weight room, whether that's a sprint time, whether that's being able to do something on the field. The fourth one, trusting the process. So the process can be a long one, and when it takes a while, it causes you to lose faith from time to time. So if you're working on getting faster, it can take months before you actually see results, and a lot of time athletes struggle with the waiting game. But unlike strength, which you can notice fairly quickly, the elements of speed take longer to develop because we're working on building up tendons to be more explosive, which takes a little bit longer than the muscles. You need to remember that you're playing the long game. So it's all about the daily wins that are going to add up. That's going to make you a completely different animal on the field next season. You need to show up and be consistent, and the process will take care of itself. Number 5, putting in the work. So athletes are inherently lazy. Trust me, I get it. I'm the same way. I want to do the least amount of work to get the best result. That's normal. However, there is a base amount of work that you need to put in if you want to progress to that next level, whether it's from second string to starter, or to that college level, or to the professional level. Each step requires you to put more work in. So what I've found is that it's easy for athletes to put the work in when everything is good and you have more than enough time, but you need to put the work in when things are going tough as well. You still need to train while you're in season with practices every day. You still need to find time when exams come up and you need to study. You still need to be training when the homework's piling up. So I deal with a lot of high school athletes who are looking to get to that college level. And you need to understand that to play at that level, you're expected to go to class, keep up with assignments, study for exams, go to practice daily, study film, and then train on top of all of that. The key to figuring all that out is learning how to build a schedule. So you need to learn how to manage your time efficiently if you want to get to that next level. And then the last one is staying committed to the program. This is probably one of the most frustrating things for me as a coach. So as an athlete, you want to see results in the shortest amount of time. I get it. I'm also an athlete. But there's also a level of commitment and trust that you need to have. So programs I use with athletes work. I know this because they work for myself, but I've also seen them work with athletes who stay committed, and I'm always refining my programs based on how athletes are progressing. But if you're not staying committed to the program, or you're doing 3 different programs from 3 different coaches who are not connected, you're just sabotaging yourself. So nothing annoys me more than an athlete who is working with me. So I put a program together, but then they're off doing some random program from the internet for bodybuilding, some other program they found from a buddy for conditioning, plus the cool Instagram drills that they scroll through. There's an old Chinese proverb, he who chases 2 rabbits catches none. If you're trying to focus on too many different things, you're not going to see results, and you're actually going to end up wasting more of your time. So for me personally, if I know you're doing other things with training, if you're working with other coaches and you can tell me what your program is, I can work around it. But if you're just doing too much random shit, it's not going to be good for anyone. So if you want to take your game to the next level, you need to make sure that you're focused on dialing in the basics, being intentful with your training, staying hungry through the off season, trusting the process, putting in the work, and staying committed to the program. If you can hit those 6 things, you're going to be flying for next season. So what workouts do you recommend for athletes? So there's going to be different components. So there's going to be a strength building component. So you're in the weight room lifting. There's going to be explosive power. So you're doing plyometrics, you're doing med ball tosses. There's going to be speed work. So a lot of sprinting stuff. And then big things, strength, speed, change of direction, and conditioning. And if anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask. I'm just rolling through comments. Beauty.